Shalom, welcome to Out of Africa Torah session. My name is Tatra Cohen, and this week we are on the portion Haazinu. Well, for those who have been following us for the past so many months, you will see that we are almost nearing the end of this Torah cycle. Now, the good thing or the beauty of it is each time we end, we also begin a new one. Like in all cases, this is exactly what's happening. Now, when you look at this particular one, Haazinu or here, you would see that Moshe continues a series of speeches which he was giving, and almost all of them seem to have one emphasis: the choice one should make, the choice an individual should make, the choice a nation should make, the choice a mixed multitude should make, and this choice is life and death. If you decide to choose or to listen and obey, and of course obeying is with the intention of doing the words which are contained in this covenant, you are in fact actually choosing life. But if you decide to rebel and go away and do what is pleasing in your own eyes, forsaking the words of this covenant, you are actually choosing death. Whether this happened indirectly or directly, the outcome is just either of the two. Now, when you look at Parashat Haazinu, it is very short but yet very interesting, considering that Moshe, as he comes to the end, we are also told of his fate, that immediately as he finished giving this last speech, he is supposed to climb the mountain and face his death. Well, in as much as that also seems aggressive and, extreme, it is also a very important lesson, especially for great men, especially those great men of God, that there comes a day for the end, whereby one should actually prepare towards the end. How will you conclude your beautiful work, your wondrous deeds which you have done in the name of the Lord? How will you conclude the work which you have had? Will you become a victor? Well, in this case, Moshe was a great man, but something serves as a lesson today that even great men too have their end, and that end one can only prepare. Well, a lot can be said about this Torah portion, but today allow me to bring about something from the rabbi's archives, and this is none other than the paradox which we find from the contrasting facts regarding the image of God. How is God portrayed in this Torah portion? Not only in this Torah portion, but throughout the Torah. At one point there's a man who came to me and he said, I hate the God of the Bible, especially the God of the Old Testament, because, he was aggressive, he was this, he was extreme, he was punishing. Of course, that was his own understanding of the image of God which he had. But when you consider this very Torah portion, the rabbis tell us something from the archives which is very interesting. The image of God is presented here in a paradox. In other words, we see on the other hand, God is projected or presented as the God who is comforting, like the darling of everyone. He's giving manna, he's giving honey, he's giving, all water, everything. Everything was just like smooth and nice, You would like to be one of these, people who are being shepherded by this God. But when you look on the other hand, you see a frightening God, a God of thunder, a God of punishing, a God of judgment, a God who is ready to wreak vengeance and all those kind of terrific things which you may think of. And the rabbis tell us, this is very interesting to understand, that God is presented in these two ways, so that you choose. Number one, you choose whom you would want. But then, some may argue, like in this case, some rabbis argue that also presents God in a way that seems to be less reliable. But then the conclusion of this matter, the rabbis tell us that God is presented like here. Moshe gives us from Deuteronomy chapter 32, from verse 39 to 40, that God is given here as the rock, someone who is not movable. He's given here as the life giver. He's given here as the God who keeps His word, the God who is in charge of life and death. And that tells us one thing about him. God is a rock. Therefore, his character is constant. Therefore, his behavior, is reliable. Therefore, you can actually believe in him, because when you look at the rock, it's something that is immovable. It's something that is constant. It's something that is reliable. It's something that, you can put as a pillar. It's something that you can have faith in. You can never come here and see the rock and tomorrow you come, it has changed its shape. Rocks do not change their shape. They are constant, they are permanent, they are reliable, they are strong. And that's the character of God which Moshe brings across here. In as much as he may appear to have so many images of extremists and images of comforting, images which are frightening, but the baseline here is the same from what Moshe said. He is the giver of life and death, the one who heals, and also the one who gives wounds. What does that tell you and me? It tells us that God is constant. It is therefore your job, you and me, that we should choose how we relate with God. And in this case, Moshe continues to emphasize to the children of Israel that I urge you therefore to choose life that you may live. A rock is a very good thing. But if you underestimate a rock, well, it can give you some good pain. But now it is up to you how you decide to choose and utilize the characteristics of the rock. In this case, Moses' message was very simple. Treat the rock the way it deserves. And in the case of God, treat God the way he should be treated. And therefore, you will experience the comforting God, the beauty of him. And when you do not come even blaming him, because he, like a rock, is also very consistent. What you see is what you get. Shabbat Shalom. Thank you all.